All right, so welcome everyone to the NEMSIS V3 implementation call. Today is Wednesday, December 10th, 2025. Um, Please review meeting guidance and rules. We will be having vendor breakout after the meeting. It is a blue week. Um, Also remember if you're logged in on a phone or a different device that doesn't have your name and affiliation, please make sure you do enter that so you can get credit for the call. This meeting is recorded, so you will be able to view it later on if need be. And if you have questions, please use our QA option, Q&A, sorry, or raise your hand, and I'm sure Chris will be happy to unmute you so you can ask your question. All right. So starting us today will be Lauri to discuss a new hire announcement. So Lauri.
Yeah, thanks, Casey. We did send an email a few weeks ago announcing this, but wanted to introduce him as today is his first V3 call and wanted to welcome to the NEMSIS TAC Josh Nation. And Josh has 16 years experience in EMS software. He's served in his previous role in several ways as project manager and team lead. We are really excited about just his technical skills and strong technical background that he brings to the team and expertise in EMS software development and compliance. And he'll be joining our compliance team as well as serving as a vendor rep for the NEMSIS TAC. And he also will be working on collecting proposed changes to the data standard, really collecting, developing, and then developing consensus and implementation of changes to the standard. So he has a lot on his plate, but we are excited to welcome him. Josh, do you want to come on camera and say hi real quick?
Yeah, thank you, Lauri. Hi, everyone. As Lauri said, I'm Josh Nation. I'm going to be taking on the role of Senior Business Data Analyst. I'm really excited to be joining the team and to be here today. I'm fortunate. I've had the pleasure of working with many of today's attendees over the years. So I'm really excited for all the great things to come in my new role. I'm going to go ahead and put my email in the chat. So please feel free to reach out to me if you need me for anything at all. And thank you all so much.
All right, thanks, Josh. I will pass it back to you, Casey.
All right. Thank you, Josh. Welcome aboard. Next up, we have Mr. John Britt with stakeholder introductions. John.
Good morning. I'll replace your share really quick. Um, so, do it a little bit differently today, but we'll get started. So the reason why we do it is to get to know others on the call, build connections, get ideas for new hobbies, maybe spotlight somebody for 30 to 45 seconds and have fun. And since we are celebrating a new employee, Josh, instead of making you guess at the end, we're just going to talk about him for a minute, right and not in front of his back. So right in front of him. So welcome to Josh Nation. He is the senior business data analyst for the NEMSIS TAC. And I asked him, he filled out the same form that everybody else does. So we asked, what do you like to do to relax or unwind? And he likes to go fishing, camping, or hiking. Interesting facts. He has heterochromia and he builds paintball machines for fun. So here's the question. Does anybody know what heterochromia is without looking it up on Google or ChatGPT? You can raise your hand. Give you 2 seconds. 1, 2. It means, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you have two different colored eyes. Is that correct, Josh?
That is correct.
Yes. So I tried to find one of the pictures that you sent me that showed your different colored eyes, but none of them were clear enough. So tell us more.
Yeah, I've got one that's predominantly brown and one that's blue. And then, in full mutant capability, they change colors with the weather and all of that great stuff. So yeah, they're just kind of their own idea on what they're going to be every day.
Cool. I have hazel eyes, so mine are not never the same color 2 days in a row either, so I get it. So some facts that others may not know. He was a camp counselor and a fishing instructor in the Malibu, California for 3 summers and taught the children of several celebrities how to fish. That's a story I want to know more about at the annual meeting, possibly over beer. Um, so how long have you been in EMS healthcare data? Over 17 years. And what do you like best about your job? This is your quote from you, Josh, but you're welcome to add to it. I love that my role directly improves how fast care arrives, how well it is delivered, and how systems evolve to save more lives. I think that's really well said. And I'm guessing this is a dinosaur of some sort, but I don't know what kind. So
It's actually a movie set. This was in Hawaii, and where they had filmed some of the King Kong and Jurassic Park things.
oh, cool. Well, thank you for sharing information about yourself. For others who have not been introduced, see, it is not painful at all. It only takes 30 to 45 seconds, and you too can be introduced if you've not been. Even if you've been coming to these meetings for years, but you've never been introduced, feel free to fill out one of these. You can just use your phone and from the QR code. And I always put a link if you're using a computer in the chat. And I love to close with this picture from Sri from Florida. He took this picture after an annual meeting, I think 3 years or 4 years ago now. See the double rainbow, which is a really pretty picture. And I like it. I think it's just indicative of all of us. That's all I have for the stakeholder introduction. And I will see everybody back here in just a few minutes.
Thank you for that. Let me get mine reshared here. Okay, so next up we have Bengie with maintenance update. Bengie.
All right, thank you, Casey. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to switch share real quickly. So the maintenance update can be found here on our website under technical resources. If you go to NEMSIS maintenance schedule, it will show you the calendar for the maintenance schedule. Since we're in December, the maintenance will be completed December 17th and 16th and 17th next week. If you have any interruptions outside of those dates, please feel free to open up a help desk ticket. Yeah, thank you, Casey. Back to you.
Bengie. So next we have Mr. John Britt again with call for 2025 records. John, please take it away.
Thank you. I have the next couple slides, so I'm just going to go ahead and share. So this is really quick. We do this every year. Save the date, February 13th this year, 2026, because Valentine's Day is on a Saturday. But that is our tentative cutoff date for the 2025 data set, which means we've already been doing the missingness meetings. We're going to continue to do that. Bengie and I will be looking at states to see if there's ways we can help you find records that have possibly been misplaced or not submitted. And we hope to have everything that we can possibly have submitted by February 13th, 2026. We're on track, knock on wood, to exceed 60 million records this year by February. So thank you all. And of course, the dates for the 2025 records that would be the calendar year for 2025. So we want January through December of 25 in no later than February 13th, 2026. And the next topic is the NEMSIS 3.5.1. And for this, Josh Legler is going to be joining me to answer any questions that I can't answer, especially for technical stuff. But there's been some conversations we've been hearing about what's the purpose of 3.5.1? Should we go? Should we not? There's a couple of things. Number one, NEMSIS, we support a standard, and that standard is going to change in the next month to 3.5.1. We don't support necessarily multiple standards. We're not going to stop accepting any records, but there's just the standard, and that's going to be 3.5.1 starting in January. But there are some really good reasons why we've did a minor release. It's not reinvented. I like to say it's a refined version of 3.5.0. It's not reinvented, but it is safer and smarter and fully backwards compatible. So what are some of the things? So there's improved documentation of EMS providers who are struck on roadways. There's 4 main ways now that can be documented that really wasn't applicable in 3.5.0. So the new injury go 3 mechanism of injury adds a code for to explicitly identify if an EMS responder is struck. The e-situation 11 now allows primary impression of how the person was struck or what was going on. And under the cause of injury, that's been made more clearly. Separate responder injuries from patient injuries. And then there's some optional state extensions that can be used for other 03 and 4 for responder struck indicator, traffic control present, reflective PPE used. These things can help clarify clinically and help documentation for lawsuits and other things. So it's things these are not necessarily possible at 3.5.0, but 3.5.1 allows. It's fully backwards compatible. What does that mean? 3.5.1 is backwards compatible, but 3.5.0 is not forwards compatible. So if an agency adopts 3.5.1, but the state repository remains 3.5.0, records will fail validation. But the vice versa is not true. If a state adopts 3.5.1, but agencies opt to stay 3.5.0 or late in updating to 3.5.1, those records will pass validation because 3.5.1 is backwards compatible to 3.5.0. Other things, there's fewer national warnings now. So warnings tied to assumptions like expected clinical actions and scene details, timestamps, demographics, deprecated fields. In general, any rule that forced non-required data or inferred what should be present, the intent was to relax that or eliminate it completely. And then violence against EMS providers tracking. There's now documentation options that support reporting violent acts towards EMS personnel. And this wasn't inherently available in 3.5.0. This is just a list of some of the detailed of what some of the rules that were relaxed or removed are and why. I'm not going to go through them. I just wanted you to see them. There's been validation and coding enhancements. So the U.S. National Grid coordinates, now we use a 10-digit precision instead of, I think it was a 9. So we can be within 1 meter accuracy using ICD or using USNG codes. We now support E164 phone, which is the international validation rules. And the new ICD-10 or SNOMED, the new codes are actually SNOMED, but extended so that we have much larger value range and more SNOMEDs. The SNOMED codes aren't missing, and they have been added into the fields that we didn't have before and are searchable now in the queue. Oh, this one messed up. Administrative changes. So now there's a D-Agency 27 licensed agency. That's a new element. So the idea is that if you have an agency that crosses state lines and both states have given it an agency ID, D-Agency 02, for the state that doesn't license that unit, but you do have an agency ID, you can say using Agency 27 which state actually licensed the unit. So there's no confusion. And ePatient 15 now allows for an approximate age at the incident. This was a really big, just a quick summary of just a few of the 3.5.1 highlights. There's a lot more information and a lot more detail available. You can just look at our website, and this is a quick video showing you how to find it. So you go in using EMS data and the version 3.5 revision. Then click on the list of V3.5 resources. And that entire block at the top is our lists, or excuse me, our resources available for 3.5.1. The one at the top, that slideshow, that is not this slideshow. That is a very detailed slideshow of every element that was changed, added, edited, deleted, anything, with specific callouts of what was done, even if it's just a spelling error or one letter was changed somewhere. It'll show you on that slideshow. The second one is the PDF of that slideshow. And then, of course, there's some Excel documents showing you the same thing, and then the schematron comparison. So feel free to look at that. And always, if you need more information, let us know, and we'll certainly get you more information, resources, whatever you need to help answer your questions. So that's what I had. Josh, I didn't know if there was anything you wanted to add to what I've said.
Yeah, I could add a little, and I guess we can watch if any questions come through in Q&A or chat as well. Let's see. Oh, Karin had a question in Q&A for the ICD-10 extensions for various elements. Will there be a new recommended list, or will at least the codes for the value types shared in the PowerPoint? So 351 only added U codes to ICD-10. That was the only change. And U codes are called temporary use codes. They were used in early 2020 to quickly deploy some codes for COVID-19. And the NEMSIS standard was unable to use or support those codes because the NEMSIS standard didn't allow U codes. So we had to wait until permanent COVID-19 codes were added to the standard up in the, I think it was chapter A or B, before NEMSIS could start using COVID-19 codes. So this just prepares us for any future public health emergencies that may come along. If they add a temporary use code in the U chapter, then NEMSIS will be ready to support that code. So that means there's not, at this time, there's no codes to add to the defined list. I wanted to demonstrate the backwards compatibility piece, really kind of speaking to states here. Let me bring up just a share. I've pulled up a document here. This is a patient care report document from the compliance pre-testing cases for 2025. So it's in the NEMSIS public repository. And this document you can see it was created using NEMSIS 3.5.0. So it claims to comply with 350. And in fact, it does. If I look down in the bottom of my window here, I see that there's no problems with this document. So it validates. But if in a state system, I could pretend that this is a 351 document and it would still be just as valid. So I'm just going to change the schema that I'm using here to 351, and I still have no validation issues with this document. So it was originally created in 350, but if I treat it like it's a 351 document, it's still fine, still valid. And that was the intent of backwards compatibility. It doesn't work the other way around. So here is a 351 document. It was created in 351. It claims to be compliant with 351. We see it passes validation, no issues. If I were to try to validate this using the 350 standard, I now see that I have several validation issues in this document. And that is because I'm using some things that are new in 351, like ePatient.14, the new value for North African Middle Eastern. I used that value here. That's not valid in 350. So it fails 350 validation. So what this really means is states, you can go ahead and deploy 351. You don't have to change your schematron rules. You don't have to change the list of elements that your state collects. You can just deploy it with all the same requirements that you have today. And then over time, you might decide, hey, we want to start collecting that new 351 data element in the procedure section for procedure performed by other unit. Great. You could add a schematron rule, whatever. You could start indicating that you want to collect that element, but you can deploy 351 right away. Your agencies can still send you 350 data, and it'll validate if you treat it like it's 351. So it really makes sense for And the national database has already done this. It makes sense for the states to deploy 351 before the locals do. Once the local agencies deploy 351, as soon as they start using something that's new in 351, then that state needs to be ready to accept that new thing. So that's the recommended order of deployment there is national, which is done, then states deploy, then locals deploy. And let's see, Laurel asked, is there a plan to update the sample data for 351? That is a good question to take back because that should be and probably hasn't been updated. So that'll need to be looked at. Laurel, I will say if you look at the schematron samples, so in the schematron folder of the repository, you'll find a bunch of 351 samples there.
Well, Josh and John, if neither of you have any more to add, doesn't look like we have any new questions coming in. Thank you very much for that. I think that was some great explanation in detail. So next up then we have Monet with the monthly report. Monet, if you would, please.
Greetings, everyone. Happy holidays. I would like to share my screen, if that's okay, Casey.
Please do.
Okay, thank you. All right, hopefully you all can see that. So the NEMSIS tag provides a monthly report, and the monthly activity report is a way for us to be transparent about various activities in which we're engaged. I would love to show you how to view the report. I know that many of you already know how to access this report. For those of you who don't, I'll just go through it briefly. We're going to go to the View Reports tab, then the Public Reports tab, and then it's the monthly report, and it's the November report. Now, I know you're saying, we're in December. Why are you showing us November? Because we always wait for the last day of the month of November to calculate some of the numbers that you will see in this report. For instance, the numbers at the very top, which are the total number of records in the database, and then we have the 2025 year-to-date numbers as well. So if you have missed the entire month of November, you weren't able to participate on any calls or any trainings, you would always be able to quickly go to this report, and then you would have access to the links for the call that took place. You would see how many people participated. We also have information about the public training that took place, a short summary here, and then the link to the public training. And here's the information about the critical patch. I would certainly update this information as well, especially provided based on some of the information provided by Josh Legler and John Britt. And then if we continue, you'll see the information about software vendor compliance. And I wanted to just congratulate several of the vendors came off of probation last month. And so that's pretty nice and exciting to see. So there's just a few remaining. This information is also available on the compliance page of the website, but here's just a quick view for you to see the status of each software company. And then, of course, we have some public research. There are some numbers here that I indicated. Part of the reason why the report always comes out at the end of the month is because we're counting and calculating how many records come in for still version 3.4 as well as 3.5, and how many agencies, excuse me, are submitting. Also, you'll see the national failed submission rate here, which is slightly higher this month, and that's actually related to some of the compliance issues and states versus some of the records that are coming in that are not coming in, they're not passing. So hopefully this will come down in the next couple of months. And then I just want to also just remind everyone who is currently helping us with the data use agreements that we were hoping to have many of those completed this month. And so if you can continue to work with your legal teams there in your states and help us to get the data use agreements for 3.5 completed, that would be extremely helpful. If you have any suggestions for this report, anything you'd like to see in this report, please don't hesitate to submit a ticket and let us know what you want to see on this report. And we'll be happy to consider all suggestions and hopefully improve this report for you. Thanks so much and have a great rest of your holiday season. Back to you, Casey.
All right, thank you, Monet. Great. What's going on? All right, next up, sorry, we have Mr. Randall Eimerman. He's going to give us an NASEMSO update and also update on some national custom elements. Randall.
All right. I'm gonna share, excuse me, I'm gonna share my screen.
We can allow that, I suppose.
If I can figure out the correct one here. Are you seeing a PowerPoint?
Yes.
All right. So just a quick update on NASEMSO here. The data managers, we have a business meeting next Tuesday, kind of carrying off of what Casey had mentioned, kind of ending up the year. So it'll be the last one for 2025. We do have a working meeting in between, but honestly, I'm not sure if we're still having that just due to the date. I had to check my notes. I didn't have time before the call. But just a kind of a highlight for the data managers, they spent many hours improving the NEMSIS system, including the guidance documents, new national custom data elements. The critical path was a lot of work for them, a lot of communication back and forth, a lot of work on the extended data definitions, and honestly, what feels like just endless surveys that we're always sending out. So last week, December 4th and 5th, was the NASEMSO board retreat. Amber Vietanen, who's the current DMC chair, she kind of went there, represented the Data Managers Council. A lot of activity and discussion, but she really kind of just reviewed some of the activities and projects that the DMC has been working on since the 2025 NASEMSO annual meeting. And then she also kind of presented on some of the projects and tasks that the DMC will be working on sort of from December to the end of April before the next NASEMSO annual meeting. And so just a quick highlight about the 2026 NASEMSO annual meeting. It's April 26th through the 30th in Kansas City, Missouri. That QR code will take you directly to the website where you're able to ask any questions if you need to. There's a schedule at a glance. The agenda is coming soon. There is a program committee meeting later. Lots of items on the agenda. There's also some sponsorship opportunities. So if there's anything that you're interested in, please follow the QR code. There is some early bird rates going on right now. And that takes us for the NASEMSO update. Any questions on that? All right. And Casey, I just noticed, I don't think my camera is working. So let me see. Is it working now? There we go.
There you go. Yep. No, it is.
All right. So next topic here is the national custom elements. Casey and I have been working back and forth trying to get these just sort of completed through the NEMSIS help desk. The data managers did get a lot of stuff done. So the first one here is really about an updated definition. This one has been submitted into the help desk. But the definition here is changing for the word donor to donation. So we also changed the end of this from it should have a maximum length of 13 to this number should be exactly 13 characters to kind of help define it a little bit. So the new definition here, which should be updated very soon, is the unit number or donation identification number, the DIN, is a federally required unique identifier that allows hospital and blood banks to know exactly where a blood donation came from. This number must be exactly 13 characters, no more, no less. Next one here is the date time the medication stopped. It's kind of a mirror of medications or e-medication zone 1, or the date time the medication was administered. This is going to give the ability to just mark a date time medication stopped. This next one here is the FIN number. We had a lot of great discussion on this on one of the last V3 calls. Worked very closely with ICC-BBA as well. This is the FIN number. This is going to be submitted here very soon to NEMSIS for creation. But an FIN, or a facility identification number, in blood banking is a 5-character code assigned by ICC-BBA that identifies a specific blood collection facility. And once again, to sort of match the wording with the blood product unit number, we said this number must be exactly 5 characters, no less, no more. And then the last one I have here is the medication status at patient transfer of care. We had a lot of great suggestions on this. We sort of took all the suggestions from the V3 call and from our data managers. And then we did end up with these final field values to present here. Administration ongoing at patient transfer of care, administration completed, discontinued due to complication or adverse reaction, discontinued due to equipment malfunction, discontinued to patient refusal, patient death, and then discontinued for other reasons not listed. So once again, I'll be working with NEMSIS Help Desk, most likely Casey, to get these completed, and we should see them up on the website very soon. Any questions about those? All right, Casey, that's my updates for today. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, sir. All right. Looked like we had a couple questions. Looks like they got answered, so it's great. So next up then we have Mr. Jeremy Kinsman with NHTSA update, federal grant announcements, and pre-hospital blood update. Jeremy, are you ready, sir?
Yeah, thanks, Casey. Can you hear me okay?
We can, yes.
Okay, great. Thanks everyone for joining today. Just a couple things real quickly. I want to thanks folks for continuing to work with the team at the NEMSIS TAC on solving issues related to the recent critical patches. So thank you for your hard work in that space. I know those requirements that were something that came from the federal government, and so I know our office and our leadership really appreciates you all working with us on coming up with a solution and getting that solution implemented. So thank you for folks that are continuing to have some challenges there. Please continue to work with the NEMSIS team and just let us know what we can do to help. And then I just wanted to also mention, thanks to the NEMSIS team for presenting on kind of the advantages of moving to 3.5.1. I'm going to mention a little bit more about some potential grant opportunities related to supporting that transition. A few more updates just specific to our office. For NEMSAC, our National EMS Advisory Council, we have made selections, and we are currently waiting on a final review and approval from the Secretary of Transportation from their office. So I think we're hoping to have an announcement about NEMSAC and our new appointments sometime early next year. For FICOMS, our Federal Interagency Committee on EMS, with the lapse in government funding, we had to have a pause, even though at NHTSA we were still up and running through that lapse. Several of our federal partners were impacted, and so I think we were planning to have a public meeting this month of December, but that was canceled. And so for folks with interest in FICOMS, please stay tuned. We'll probably have an announcement about upcoming public meetings towards the beginning of next year. A couple things that we're working on specific to NHTSA. One is electric vehicle fires, one is pediatric vehicular heat stroke, and another one is underride crashes. So those are things that we're working closely with on folks on the vehicle side at NHTSA, and we're kind of exploring some different ways that our crash data, our NEMSIS data, and maybe potentially our NARIS data might be able to help us kind of scope and understand, and characterize those incidents. And so I would just encourage folks, if anyone has had success with, understanding again the frequency with which electric vehicle fires are happening and associated injuries, or pediatric vehicular heat stroke, or underride crashes, using your EMS data or some type of link data, please let us know. That would be really interesting to hear from you. One thing we're going to continue to do is work with NARIS. I think we're hearing from some folks in the field that there has been some challenges, and I just want folks to know we're going to continue to work with the NARIS team on harmonizing both NEMSIS and NARIS wherever possible, in an effort to really make sure that we've got good interoperability and we're reducing duplicate data entry for our field providers as much as possible. So similar to my last comment, if folks at the state or local level or vendors, have had some success with interoperability between NEMSIS and NARIS, we'd love to hear more about that. So please feel free to reach out to us. I've mentioned, I think probably on every call now where I give an update, we do have this interagency agreement with the Uniformed Services University, and specifically the National Institute for Defense Health Cooperation. Sorry, maybe it's coordination. It's a new acronym. They have contracted with a group at Johns Hopkins called the Applied Physics Laboratory. We are going to be working with them to help evaluate our 25 pre-hospital blood transfusion demonstration programs to see what kind of impact those programs are having on motor vehicle crash patient outcomes. So I just want folks to be aware of that. That's a group that I think, as we identify and select the EMS agencies or the regions where those pre-hospital blood transfusion programs, demonstration programs are going to be implemented, our hope would be that vendors in those areas would support those demonstration sites and would work with the Applied Physics Laboratory at Johns Hopkins, and making sure that we've got a good export of data for that demonstration and impact evaluation. Just a few more things on pre-hospital blood. The NEMSIS team has been doing really a ton of work over the past couple of months. I've mentioned this before as well, but in coming up with a data definition to identify patients that could benefit from pre-hospital blood. So we took the Pre-Hospital Blood Transfusion Coalition's clinical practice guideline and translated it into data definition based on the structured data elements that we capture at the national level. We've done some internal sensitivity and specificity testing on its accuracy. And in terms of both the face validity and that internal testing that we've done, we're feeling really confident about moving to the next step. So I think we're going to be using that definition for several kind of public-facing tools and resources. We are looking at developing like a national dashboard that would be public-facing. We're working on potentially putting out some monthly reports to kind of describe, where blood is being transfused across the country, and potentially, other patients that could benefit from it if it had been expanded into those areas. And we're also looking at some different analyses and manuscripts in that space. So I think as those things come out, we'll be sure to update you all on them. One thing that we've talked about a lot, I think, over the past year and a half that folks are probably aware of is just some challenge we've had with the way pre-hospital blood transfusion documented. And so that's something we're continuing to track and figure out, like, how can we improve that documentation so that we can identify records where blood was transfused in the national level, but also for our state partners as well. I'm just going to stop for a second. I'm getting a message that my connection is unstable. Can you guys still hear me okay? Okay.
Yeah, you sound good.
Okay, thanks. There's folks at the NEMSIS team, at the NEMSIS TAC, that will probably be continuing to reach out to some states and vendors and local agencies to figure out just how blood transfusion is being documented and see where the potential issues are of why we're not able to identify those cases at the national or state level, and some potential fixes. So I would just ask folks to please work with, I think probably John and Amanda at the TAC are going to be doing a lot of that work, but just as they reach out to you, we would appreciate it if we would work with them. And then just a couple pieces here on NHTSA funding opportunities that I mentioned, I think on the last call. We've had the Safe Streets and Roads for All program that is specifically funds local municipalities, local governments. And for the first several rounds of funding, we did have several successful applicants with projects related to post-crash care and pre-hospital blood. We're going to be making an announcement sometime in a couple weeks here before the end of the year. The Department of Transportation will be making an announcement about for FY, because it's 25, the additional applicants that were successful. We are expecting a pretty big increase in the number of projects related to post-crash care and specifically pre-hospital blood that were funded. And so I think as those come out, we'll make sure folks are aware. Everything right now is pointing towards one final, I think, opportunity for Safe Streets and Roads for All. And there will probably be some information that'll come out about that grant application at the beginning of next year. And I think the deadline will probably be March 2026. So we'll make sure folks are aware of that. And then for our state partners, I think we just want to encourage you to continue the conversations with folks over in the State Highway Safety Office. January is kind of a great time to start to have those conversations with your State Highway Safety Office about opportunities for state highway safety funding related to post-crash care and EMS. There's the Section 405C grant funding that I know several state offices of EMS have had success with in the past. And I think our sense is that if states needed support with transitioning to NEMSIS version 3.5.1, one of the potential ways you could do that is work with your state highway safety office and see if you could tap into 405C funding for that. Because as I think John mentioned on the call on his presentation earlier, we do have that additional field value in E-Other 06 on documenting that a responder was impacted by a struck by, or there was a struck by incident. And so that's something that you could highlight as part of receiving some support for transitioning to NEMSIS version 3.5.1. And I think you could, connect that the ability to collect that data to potentially some additional education or training programs related to traffic incident management across your state, or projects centered around, now that we're able to collect this data, how do we make sure that our providers know that they have the ability to document that field value, and how might we incorporate it into our into some type of tracking system to find out how frequent are providers at the scene of a crash or on the side of the highway being struck. That's something that NHTSA has a lot of interest in, and so a role and a requirement from Congress to address that issue. So let's see, what else do I have here? We can get the dates out for these. I think we are going to be working within our office to try and put out like a formal document related to this information. And so that's something we'll hopefully see in the next couple of months. And I think that might be it for me today. I'm happy to answer any questions if folks on the call have questions specific for NHTSA or any of the other things I mentioned. And I'll be on the call till the end as well if there's other questions that come up.
Thank you very much for that, Jeremy. Very informational. I'm not seeing any questions coming in or hands raised at the moment, so we'll keep an eye out for that and let you know. And I think we got most of our questions in Q&A answered. I think there was one or two that John probably will reach out directly to you all to have more discussion about, if that works. All right, and that wraps up that portion of the meeting for today. Let me share my screen real quick so you all can see what I'm looking at. It's usually helpful. So we will be canceling the meeting for December 24th, as that is Christmas Eve. Not going to make you all come in on Christmas Eve. None of us want to be here either. Our next public training will be January 6th to discuss advances in the NEMSIS v351 data standard. Looks like Dr. Mann and Josh Legler are going to be putting that one on. And then the next V3 implementation call then that we will all be on will be January 14th of 2026 in the new year. So that should be exciting. Please let us know if you have any questions about any of those. Otherwise, we have our open forum time right now. So if anyone has anything that they want to bring up, any discussion, any further questions about any of the stuff we talked about or that's been lingering, please let us know. And Chris, this is where we need the Jeopardy music until someone steps in. All right. Well, don't see anybody raising hands or anything coming in, so we will move along then to our breakout rooms. Amanda, if you want to take over and just kind of go through the rules of conduct for the rooms real quick, and then we'll get everybody moving along.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Casey. Sorry, everyone. I'm not sure why my video is so dark. Anyway, thank you so much for being here today. I just want to do a quick reminder to only join your specific breakout room and stay respectful. Have a great holidays, and thanks for joining us again.
Thank you, Amanda. Well, we do have Ridgely just said that she has a question. It says I have a queue, so I don't know.
Sorry, I'm multitasking.
No worries, no worries.
I joined late, so I don't know if you guys already talked about this. Has the situation where like a lot of vendors are failing because of ePatient 25 been discussed already? Since things changed last week?
That was not specifically discussed.
Really? Because this is huge. Like all of our Zoll, all of our AmbuPro, some other vendors, like no records are coming in because they don't have the element in the XML at all.
Right.
And I didn't know if NEMSIS was aware of that. So what changed last week all of a sudden? And just wondering how quickly we can get any of it taken care of.
Sure. I don't have the answers for that. I don't know. Jeremy, go ahead.
Yeah, is John still on?
I am, yes. So I could answer part of it in that nothing changed last Wednesday, and that we have been reaching out to vendors. And of course, Amanda would actually be better to answer that anyway, but we are working with them to get it corrected.
So why would it kick in as of that date? Like they weren't sending the element wasn't in the XML at all, and then as of the middle of last week, the schema started failing.
Yeah, this is Josh Legler. What probably changed was your state system. Your vendor probably deployed the latest critical patch, which requires that element to be present. So nothing changed in the national level, but your state system then probably started rejecting records that didn't have that element.
So what date should that have been turned on? Because that seems like it's delayed. Like, couldn't that have been like a month ago?
The national database started or deployed the latest critical patch on November, what was it, 3rd or 4th? I think it was that first Monday of November. Yeah, and then so your state system probably deployed it a couple weeks later, which is fine because your state system was already on the first critical patch and it was already sending ePatient.25 even if it was blank. And so your state system sending to national, everything continued to work smoothly because of what had been implemented so far.
Okay. Well, you're not getting anything. You're not getting a lot from us right now.
Yeah. Yeah. My personal perspective would be that state vendors should have coordinated with their state customers on when to deploy that latest critical patch. And I think it just kind of went out instead of being coordinated.
Or shouldn't the element have just been in everybody's exports since November, whatever date that was, 4th or 3rd?
Yes, the local vendors, they should have implemented the critical patch by that time.
Okay. All right. Well, something got lost in translation somewhere. Hopefully it's getting sorted out.
Yeah, definitely some local vendors just didn't deploy the critical patches. I saw that here in Oregon as well, where some agencies had to scramble.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Richard. We have a hand raised, Amber Vittman. We can unmute her.
There we go. I was like, I've been silenced. So I think there's a couple things going on. Right, we're experiencing the same thing where these records are failing the national schema. And so when the state vendor implemented the latest national schema, that's what caused the failures. However, there's also some states where we can't mandate that element at the state level. So there has to be a way for us to accept those records. And then we have a plan at the state level to map a response so that we're still compliant with the national import. But we're trying to figure out how can we differ from the national schema at the state level to accommodate kind of these different layers of regulation. And I don't know if that has been discussed at a national level or if that is just something that we discussed with our state vendors.
Yeah, Amber, this is Josh again. That's a great way to phrase the question. So one option, which is probably the one that I would go with, is that you and all of your local vendors all get on the latest critical patch, and that the local vendors just send you an empty ePatient.25 every time. And then, of course, you'll do the mapping that you're going to do at the state level. But the other option is your state to stay on the previous critical patch, which allows for ePatient.25 but doesn't require it. And then it doesn't matter what critical patch the local vendors are on. They could be on the pre-critical patch, they could be on the first one, they could be on the second one. No matter what they send you, it's going to be valid according to your system. And then you're going to do the mapping, like you said, and you're going to make sure that you send something valid to national. So that would be a way to do it, but it seems like the state vendor just rolled out the latest critical patch, without coordination with you as the state customer. But those would be two options I would see.
Right. So we would have to essentially have two different versions of the national schema, one upon import and one upon export.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have to see
Although,
if
like I
they
say, I
can
think my
maintain.
preferred route would be that you just deploy the latest critical patch like you have, and just have the vendors also be on the latest patch and just send you a blank element. But yeah, that second option would
Right.
work.
I mean, easier said than done, right? When we are
Yeah.
dealing with over a dozen vendors, and we need an immediate fix because, as originally mentioned, we're having a ton of records fail right now to come into our system at all. So now that, increases our workload tenfold because we have to then reach out to each one of those agencies to have them resend every single one of those failed records after we implement a solution. So the quicker that we can fix it, the better off that we'll be. Granted, totally in agreement that the better goal is to just get everybody on board, but we're not there today.
Yeah, and so if your vendor is able to roll back so that your imports are treated as the previous critical patch, then that opens the gates again, data flows again. Then you run some analytical reports in your system, and over the next 6 months or so, you talk to the agencies. Yeah, it gives you some time.
For taking that, Josh. Amber, did you have anything else?
Negative Ghost Rider, thank you.
Very good. All right, thank you. I see another hand up, Anne from First Due. Go ahead.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me?
We can.
Great. Thanks so much, Casey. I think at the NEMSIS annual meeting, we talked about getting a list of what each state had planned for ePatient 13 and ePatient 25. Have we been able to collect that list and distribute it at all?
Who's got that
Yeah,
answer?
we have. It's shared on our website. I can put the link in chat.
Thank you so much.
All right, excellent. Anybody else? Going once, going twice. All right, thank you all again. Now I think we're ready for our breakout rooms if everyone feels they have their questions answered. Let's go ahead and start doing that.